with prayers to get good husbands in the future. They especially wanted to get a husband like Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva is very peaceful and at the same time most powerful. Formerly, therefore, small girls in Hindu families would worship Lord Shiva, especially in the month of Vaishakha, April, May. To take a bath in the Ganges is a great pleasure for everyone, not only for adults, but for children also. When the girls engaged in worshipping different demigods after bathing in the Ganges, the young Lord, Lord Chaitanya, would come there and sit down among them. Addressing the girls, the Lord would say, "Worship me, and I shall give you good husbands or good benedictions." The Ganges and Goddess Durga are my maidservants. What to speak of other demigods, even Lord Shiva is my servant. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, there is a misconception about the Hindu religion among people who profess other religions, such as Christians and Muslims, who say that in the Hindu religion there are many gods. Well, not only the Christians and Muslims say that, the Hindus say that also. So that's very interesting. Actually, that is not a fact. God is one. But there are many other powerful living entities who are in charge of different departments of administration. They are called demigods. All the demigods are servants who carry out the orders of the Supreme, the personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disclosed this fact in his childhood. Out of ignorance, sometimes people worship the demigods to receive some particular boon. But actually, one who becomes a devotee and worshipper of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to go to the demigods for any benediction, because he obtains everything by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Okay, so this is very, very interesting. But it points up, or it gives indication of serious misunderstanding, not only amongst the Christians and Muslims, but also amongst many or most Hindus. When Prabhupada says God is one, this has to be explained, because otherwise it's easy to misunderstand it. God is one means that Krishna has many plenary, partial plenary, and partial plenary expansions. So, what is that plenary expansion? Plenary means absolute. So, Krishna expands himself as Balaram. Balaram is not different than Krishna. It's the same person, but appearing with a different complexion. That's the only difference. Then he expands himself as the Chaturvyuha, first Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Sankarsan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. These are all Vishnu forms. Again, it's the same person, but the form is different. The Vishnu forms have 4 arms, Krishna has 2 arms. Then there's a second Chaturvyuha. Again, Vasudeva, Sankarsan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. And there are also Narayana expansions for the Vaikuntha planets. Again, 4-armed forms. It's just, again, the same person, but having a different form. In the first case, Balaram was the same person, and there's only one difference, that is, he has a light complexion and Krishna has a dark complexion. But then there's Narayana, where he has 4 arms and Krishna only has 2 arms, but it's the same person. And then from the second Chaturvyuha, you have the Vishnu expansions, which have 4 arms, but they're in the material world. Again, they're non-different than Krishna. It's Krishna again, but he's manifesting the Vishnu forms in the material world. So then you have Lord Shiva, who is a very special person. If it was possible for Krishna to be influenced by the material nature, but that's not possible. He's never influenced by the material nature. But Shiva, Lord Shiva, is slightly influenced, very slightly influenced by the material nature. And that's when he appears in the material world. But he also has an eternal abode in the spiritual world. So Shiva Tattva is very difficult to understand. But Shiva's on both sides, in the spiritual world and the material world. But in the material world, he's slightly influenced by the material nature. So therefore, Shiva's appearance in the material world is not completely transcendental. Therefore, you cannot say that Lord Shiva is Vishnu or Krishna. He's a specific, distinct individual that is in this material world. In the spiritual world, he has a form as Narayana, and he has an eternal planet. So, therefore, that's why I say it's difficult to understand Lord Shiva. There's some mystery. However, Lord Brahma is a jiva, just like us. And he's also slightly influenced at times by the material nature. Now, when there is no qualified Brahma, no person, it's a titular position. So titular means a title position. It's just like the President of the United States is a title position. When there is no qualified devotee in the material world to hold the position of Brahma, Lord Krishna sometimes will expand and take the position of Brahma. Because the position of Brahma is usually held by a jiva atma. If there's no qualified person, then Krishna will take that position. Okay, so now we come into the jivas. The jivas are living entities who are expansions or expanded from Krishna, but they're distinct individuals who cannot obtain or who do not possess more than 78% of Krishna's 64 transcendental qualities. So they never could be equal to Krishna. They are not what you would call a plenary expansion or a partial plenary expansion of the Lord. So they are distinct from the Lord. Whereas the Vishnu expansions, the Narayana expansions, the Chaturvyuhas, Lord Balaram, they're all direct, they're all Krishna himself appearing in either with a slight difference, like a color difference, or a form difference, like Narayana. Then you have Srimati Radharani, who is expansion of his internal potency, Hladini Shakti. And she's not different than the Lord also, but she's appearing as a female. Then you have different incarnations of Krishna, such as Narasingha, Matsya, Kurma, and so forth. the ones that have eternal planets in the spiritual world are non-different than Krishna. There are some, like Mohini Murti, that do not have an eternal planet in the spiritual world, but again, non-different than Krishna. You have the universal form, the Virat Rupa, that only exists in the material world. It's this gigantic form of the Lord that encompasses everything. But it's only temporarily manifest. So we see this whole idea of everything is one is not a fact. Krishna is the source of everything, but there is a difference between his planetary expansions and the Jiva Atmas. However, it's easy to see why when people say, oh, God is one, then they mean we're all God. And that's where the confusion occurs. This God is one is referring simply to Krishna's planetary expansions. But if we say God is one and everything is God, that is a mistake. So, therefore, Lord Chaitanya is going to try and clear up this mistake. And not he's going to try, he clears it up here. He says, there is a misconception about the Hindu religion among people who profess other religions, such as Christians and Muslims, who say that in the Hindu religion there are many gods. Actually, that is not a fact. God is one. But there are many other powerful living entities who are in charge of different departments of administration. They are called demigods. All the demigods are servants who carry out the orders of the Supreme Lord, the personality Godhead. Lord Chaitanya disclosed this fact in his childhood. Out of ignorance, sometimes people worship the demigods to receive some particular boon, but actually, one who becomes a devotee and worshiper of the Supreme Personality Godhead does not need to go to the demigods for any benediction, because he obtains everything by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Bhagavad Gita 7:20 to 7:28. Therefore, condemn such demigod worship. Kamaistaistar hitagyana prapadyante nyadevata. Tam tam niyamam astaya pakritya yutak swaya. So this is the 7th chapter, 20th verse. And it says that those who are those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires, surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Now here that's the Bhagavad Gita translation. However, Prabhupada translates in a slightly different way in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, only persons whose intelligence is lost and who are mad with lusty desires worship the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Okay, so here he's saying that basically persons whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires. So this is very revealing. We and our personality are determined by the desires we have. So, if we have only material desires, then our intelligence has been stolen. It's being misused. When you steal something, when someone steals something, they use it in a different way and for a different purpose than the persons who originally owned that thing. So, the real purpose of intelligence is to put into action your spiritual desires, to organize and put into action your spiritual desires. But when the intelligence is stolen, we use it to put into action our material desires and for a selfish purpose. So therefore, if someone only has material desires, you cannot say they're intelligent according to spiritual point of view. their intelligence has been stolen, and it's misappropriated for inappropriate things. Okay, so therefore, it says, only persons whose intelligence is lost and who are mad with lusty desires. So the second thing that happens with these material desires, one becomes insane, mad. Mad doesn't mean they're angry, but mad means they're insane, or they're going crazy. And why do people go crazy? They have lusty desires, uncontrollable desires. If you have a desire, that's one thing. If you have lusty desire, it means it's virtually uncontrollable. And what do? They worship demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So you can worship the demigods in goodness, in passion, and in ignorance. Most demigod worship, I mean, just like the people who worship Lord Shiva, some are brahmanas, some are businessmen, and some are demons. You have demons that worship Lord Shiva, like Vrikasura and so forth, and Banasura, and even Ravana. And then others are just have strong material desires, like businessmen and so forth. And then there are some that are in the mode of goodness that worship Lord Shiva. They're brahmanas. But they also have lost their intelligence. They also are performing pujas, just like Ravana had brahmanas performing pujas in Lanka. And just like in Vrindavan also, there were brahmanas who were working for Kamsa, who were performing pujas in Vrindavan in the time of Krishna. But we can say that their intelligence was stolen, and they were insane with lusty desires. Right. Therefore, when Krishna asked them to he asked the cowherd boys to beg prasadam from the brahmanas, from their yajna, they refused. They said, well, it's for Krishna? No, we will not give it. Why? Because they were attached to the benefits they were getting from Kamsa, and they were afraid that if Kamsa heard that they were doing some service for Krishna, he would do something crazy, like maybe kill them or at least take away their benefits. So, again, what was their problem? They had material desires. So that's why it says, those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So the brahmanas in Vrindavana that were working for Kamsa, they were following the particular rules and regulations of worship. And then also, for example, they're doing yajnas, but who are they offering the yajna to? We should ask that question, because there always has to be a person or somebody that they direct it towards. So most probably they were offering it to either the philosophized Vishnu or to the demigods. So what is the philosophized Vishnu? It's a very interesting concept. It is an order supplier. Just like when people do Satyanarayana Puja, they have a list of material desires that they want to satisfy, and they are petitioning the Lord by offering different articles of worship. Please satisfy these desires. So Prabhupada talks about this philosophized Vishnu. He says, the impersonalists are supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness, and they worship 5 kinds of demigods. They worship the impersonal Vishnu form in the material world, which is known as philosophized Vishnu. Vishnu is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the impersonalists, because they do not ultimately believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, imagine that the Vishnu form is just another aspect of the impersonal Brahman. You see, this is the whole point. The Mayavadis claim that everything is coming from Brahman, from this spiritual effulgence. They don't claim that the Brahman is coming from Krishna. Krishna declares that the Brahman is coming from him. Brahmana hi pratistaham amritasya vyayasya cha sasvatasya cha dharmasya sukaisya kantikasya cha. This is the 14th chapter, 27th verse. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So, but the philosophized Vishnu is the concept that everything is coming from Brahman, including Lord Vishnu. So, however, Vishnu is the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the impersonalists, because they do not ultimately believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, imagine that the Vishnu form is just another aspect of the impersonal Brahman. Similarly, they imagine that Lord Brahma is the impersonal form in the material mode of passion. Thus, they sometimes describe 5 kinds of gods that are worshipable, but because they think that the actual truth is impersonal Brahman, they dispose of all worshipable objects at the ultimate end. They do what's called visarjan. In conclusion, the different qualities of the material modes of nature can be purified through association with persons who are transcendental nature. So, the philosophized Vishnu is this so-called emanation from the impersonal Brahman, and it's a temporary emanation in the material world, which is known as the philosophized Vishnu. Okay, so we see that this Panchapasanam established by Sankaracharya, that is, he limited the deities that should be worshipped in a Hindu temple, because about the time of Muhammad, Sankaracharya came approximately, maybe a little bit after or almost contemporary with Muhammad. And he and Muhammad did the same thing. They limited the number of deities that should be worshipped. In Mecca, they were worshiping 360 deities. One deity per day of the year. And in India, they were doing the same thing. So Sankaracharya comes and says, no more of this, so many different deities, just worship 5. You know, there's Surya, there's the philosophized Vishnu, there is Durga Mata, and there's Lord Shiva, and maybe Ganapati, right? Or Surya, either one. Okay, so if you go to a traditional Hindu temple, so Anandaram, in Maharashtra, Anandaram, in Maharashtra, there must be, you must have visited some Hindu temples, right? Anandaram, Haribo, did you visit some Hindu temples in Maharashtra?
Not in Maharashtra.
Here?
Not in Maharashtra.
Well, did you visit some Hindu temples here?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so how many deities did you see?
One.
How many deities did you see?
In US?
Yeah.
There are
Okay, you saw,
10, 15.
no, wait a minute. You saw Lord Vishnu.
Yes.
Did you see Lord Shiva?
Shiva, yes.
Did you see Mata?
Yes.
Did you see Surya?
Ganapati is there. Surya generally I didn't find.
Okay, so Ganapati.
Then we have
Sunny. Okay, Sunny is Saturn. Or
and then that 9 planets.
okay, the Nava Grahas. Yeah.
And Ayyappa, Lord Ayyappa.
Okay, that's Lord Shiva's son. But look, let's see. You saw Vishnu. You saw Mata. You saw Shiva. Did you see Brahma? No. And you saw the Ganapati. Yeah. So you did not see Surya. Okay. Well, anyway, they've increased the number, but it's supposed to be Panchapasana. It's only supposed to be 5. This is Sankaracharya started it. But of the 5, Lord Vishnu is not the real Vishnu. It's the philosophized Vishnu. You see, that we explain, and he's considered to be something emanating from the Brahma Jyoti. Okay. Anyway, like I said, Sankaracharya more or less did the same thing as Muhammad, but Muhammad was more radical, so he reduced the number of deities from 360 to 1, called the Kaaba, and Sankaracharya reduced it to 5. Actually, look it up on the internet. I think this Panchapasana, I think there's Brahma, Surya, Mata, Shiva, Vishnu. Take a look. And if it's not Surya, then it has to be Ganapati. Okay. So, here Lord Chaitanya is saying, wait a minute, there's no reason to worship any demigod, even including Lord Shiva. Why? Because they're all my servants, he said. Worship me, and I shall give you good husbands and good benedictions. The Ganges and Goddess Durga are my maidservants. What to speak of other demigods? Even Lord Shiva is my servant. So, one who becomes a devotee and worshiper of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to go to the demigods for any benediction, because he obtains everything by the grace of the Supreme Lord. So only those persons whose intelligence is lost and who are mad with lusty desires worship the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. But persons who are freed from all sinful activities and the duality of delusion engage themselves in the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with determination. Only the less intelligent worship the demigods for their various purposes. The most intelligent worship only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Did you find it, Panchapasana?
Yeah, it is worship of Vishnu, Shiva, Devi, Surya, and Ganapati.
Yes, see? Surya and Ganapati. Okay. Exactly.
Vishnu, Shiva, Devi, Surya, and Ganapati.
Yeah, Vishnu, Shiva, Surya, and Ganapati. That's it. Yeah, so, therefore, Prabhupada says, sometimes we, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement, are accused of not approving of the worship of demigods. But how can we approve of this when it is condemned by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna? How can we allow people to become foolish and hritajnana, bereft of intelligence? Our propaganda is simply meant to enable intelligent people to understand the distinction between matter and spirit, and understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the whole spiritual identity. That is our mission. How could we mislead people into worshiping so-called gods in material bodies within the material worlds? Our position of not allowing worship of the many hundreds of demigods was confirmed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even in his childhood. In other words, hundreds of demigods. See, that's why the Muslims were worshiping, not the Muslims, but the Arabs were worshiping 360 demigods. The Hindus were also worshiping at one time 360 or more demigods. So that's why Sankaracharya and Muhammad limited the number. Our position of not allowing worship of the many hundreds of demigods was confirmed by Lord Chaitanya even in his childhood. Srila Narottam Das Thakura has sung in this connection, Amya Devashraya Nai Tomara Kahinu Bai E Bhakti Parama Karana. To become a staunch, pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without deviation, Ananyabhak, one should not divert his attention to the worship of demigods. Such control is a symptom of pure devotional service. So without deviation, this Ananyabhak means without deviation, just like it says in Bhagavad Gita. It says, Apichet Sudaracharo Bhajante Mam Ananyabhak Sadur Evascha Mantavya Samyak Vyavasito Hisaha. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. In other words, Bhajante Mam Ananyabhak, one worships me with unalloyed and undeviating attention, and without any deviation. Okay. So that's the symptom of a pure bhakta. Without the permission of the girls, the Lord would take the sandalwood pulp and smear it on his own body, put the flower garlands on his neck, and snatch and eat all the offerings of sweetmeats, rice, and bananas. So you can see how Lord Chaitanya seemingly was naughty, but he was teaching a very fundamental precept to the gopis. Prabhupada explains, according to the system of worship, when something is offered to deities outside of one's home, it is generally not cooked food, but raw rice, bananas, and sweetmeats. Out of his causeless mercy, the Lord would snatch the offerings from the girls and eat them, admonishing the girls not to worship the demigods, but to worship him. This worship of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishnavarnyam Trisak Krishnam Sangapangashtaparstam Yajaya Sankirtana Parar Yajantimam Sumedasaha. One should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appears in this age of Kali with his associates as the Pancha Tattva, the Lord himself and his associates, Nityananda Prabhu, Shri Advaita Prabhu, Shri Gadadhar Prabhu, and Sri Vasa Thakur. In this age, an intelligent person worships the Panchatattva by the method of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and, if possible, distributing prasadam. Our Krishna consciousness movement is introducing this bona fide method of worship in the Western world. Its members are going from village to village and town to town with deities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, teaching people how to worship the Lord by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, offering prasadam, and distributing prasadam to people in general. So here is our method of worship. We worship Lord Chaitanya and the Panchatattva. And we perform Harinam Sankirtan and we distribute prasadam. This is the perfect form of Yuga Dharma recommended in this age of Kali, in Kali Yuga. So, it does not require elaborate demigod worship. It does not require even anything else than simply worshiping Panchatattva and by chanting Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. This Gaura Bhakta Vrinda is very important. What does it say? It says that that Lord Chaitanya is the most munificent incarnation or avatara. He is Krishna himself, appearing as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he appears also in his features as a devotional manifestation, that is Nityananda Prabhu, devotional incarnation, that is Advaita Acharya, and I'm sorry, devotional a pure devotee, that is Shivasa Thakur, and I'm sorry, Shri Shivas, and a devotional energy, that is Gadadhar, or Srimati Radharani. So he appears as a devotee, that is like Narada Muni or Shri Shivas. And a devotional manifestation, that's Nityananda Prabhu. Devotional incarnation is Advaita Acharya. And then devotional energy is Gadadhar Prabhu. Okay, so that is the mystery of the Panchatattva. That's called basically Godhead. You can't really understand Krishna or Krishna consciousness without understanding the concept of Godhead. That Godhead includes all of Krishna's expansions, plenary expansions, partial plenary expansions, partial plenary expansions, etc. Okay. So these are the 5 tattvas of the Panchatattva. Okay. So then, all the girls became very angry at Lord Chaitanya for his behavior. "Dear Nimai," they told him, "you are just like our brother in our village relationship. Therefore, it does not behoove you to act like this. Don't take our paraphernalia for worship of the demigods. Don't create a disturbance in this way." The Lord replied, "My dear sisters, I give you the benediction that your husbands will be very handsome. They will be learned, clever, and young, and possess abundant wealth and rice. Not only that, but you will each have 7 sons, who will all live long lives and be very intelligent." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Generally, it is the ambition of a young girl to have a very handsome husband who is learned, clever, young, and rich. According to the Vedic culture, one is rich if he possesses a large stock of food, grain, and a very large number of animals. Dhyanena dhanavan gavaya dhanavan. One is rich if he possesses food, grain, cows, and bulls. It doesn't say dogs, sheep, reptiles. It's talking about cows and bulls. A girl also desires to have many children, especially sons, putra, who are very intelligent and long-lived. Now, because society has deteriorated, there is propaganda to have 1 or 2 children and kill the rest by contraceptive methods. But the natural ambition of a girl is to possess not only more than 1 child, but at least half a dozen, meaning 6. In exchange for the paraphernalia of worship, the Lord usurped for himself, meaning Chaitanya Prabhu, in exchange for the paraphernalia of worship he usurped for himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to bless the girls to fulfill all their ambitions and desires. One can easily become happy and obtain the material benefits of a good husband, wealth, food, grain, and a number of nice children by worshipping Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyasa at an early age, it is not necessary for his devotees to follow him by also taking sannyasa. One can stay a householder, but one must be a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then one will be happy with all the material opulences of a good home, good children, good mate, good wealth, and everything he desires. Therefore the Shastras advise, Yajnai Sankirtana Parayar, Yajanti Hisu Medasaha, Bhagavatam 11:532. Every householder, therefore, who is actually intelligent should introduce the Sankirtan movement home to home and live peacefully in this life and go back to Godhead in the next. Very interesting. You don't even have to take sannyas. You just have to be a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As Prabhupada is explaining this. So, this Krishna Varnyam Trisak Krishna Sangapangasta Parsadam Yajnaya Sankirtana Parar Yajanti Hisumidasaha. He quotes this Yajanti Yajnaya Sankirtana Parar Yajanti Hisumidasaha. One should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appears in this age with his associates as the Pancha Tattva. The Lord himself and his associates, Nityananda Prabhu, Shri Advaita Prabhu, Shri Gadadhar Prabhu, Shri Vas Thakur. In this age, an intelligent person worships the Panchatattva by the method of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and, if possible, distributing prasadam. So that's what this is all about. Chanting Hare Krishna and distributing Mahaprasadam and, of course, worshipping the Lord. Hearing this benediction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the girls were inwardly very happy, but externally, as is natural for girls, they rebuked the Lord under the pretense of anger. So now we're getting into female psychology. You see, everything is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and especially Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada explains, generally, it is the ambition of a young girl to have a very handsome husband who is learned. I'm sorry. This double dealing is natural for girls. When they are satisfied within, they externally show dissatisfaction. Such feminine dealings are very palatable to boys who try to make friendships with them. Well, a lot of boys or a lot of men misunderstand women. That's why it says men are from Mars and women from Venus. In other words, they're from different planets. But that's not true. That's only when you don't understand. And when you don't understand, when men don't understand, it's because they don't read the Shastras. They don't chant Hare Krishna, they don't worship Lord Chaitanya, they don't distribute prasadam, and therefore they don't understand. But those who understand, such feminine dealings are very palatable to boys who try to make friendship with them. That is, in other words, they enjoy the double dealing, which is natural for girls. When they are satisfied within, they externally show dissatisfaction. So oftentimes, women will purposely seem dissatisfied, although internally they are satisfied. It's just their double dealing. It's a natural tendency. When some of the girls fled, the Lord called them in anger and advised them as follows: if you are miserly and do not give me the offerings, every one of you will have an old husband with at least 4 co-wives. So now we see that polygamy was part of Vedic culture. It wasn't absolutely necessary, but it was permitted. Lord Ramachandra established Ekapatni Vrat, a high-class man is only married to one woman and faithful to her whole life. But at the same time, there were Kshatriyas, like Ramachandra's father. He had 4 wives, at least, and other great Kshatriyas. Sometimes they had hundreds of wives. When a Kshatriya got married, just like when Krishna got married, he had over 16,000 wives. But when he married these very high-class ladies like Rukmini and others, all the attendants of their wife would also become married and live in the house of the Kshatriya, and he would take care of all of them. So Prabhupada explains, in India in those days, and even until 50 years ago, okay, well, he's writing this in the 1970s, so if we go back 50 years, it's the 1920s. Polygamy was freely allowed. Yeah, before independence of India, Hindus were allowed to have more than one wife. It's only after independence, in order to favor the Muslims, they permitted the Muslims, and people like Nehru permitted the Muslims to have 4 wives, but prohibited the Christians and Indians from having more than one wife. Any man, especially of the higher caste, the Brahmanas, the Vaishyas, and particularly the Kshatriyas, could marry more than one wife. To notice the Sudras were not allowed to have more than one wife. In the Mahabharata, or the old history of India, we see that Kshatriya kings especially used to marry many wives. According to Vedic civilization, there was no restriction against this, and even a man more than 50 years old could marry. But to be married to a man who had many wives was not a very pleasing situation, because the husband's love would be divided among his many wives. Well, that's the fact. King Dasharatha favored Kaikeyi over Kaushalya. And that was the cause of problems. To punish the girls unwilling to offer him, meaning Lord Chaitanya, the Naivedya, the offering of fruits and rice and sweetmeats, Lord Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apparently wanted to curse them to be married to men who had at least 4 wives. The social structure allowing a man to marry more than one wife can be supported in this way. Generally, in every society, the female population is greater in number than the male population. Therefore, if it is a principle in the society that all girls should be married, unless polygamy is allowed, it will not be possible. If all girls are not married, there is a good chance of adultery, and a society in which adultery is allowed cannot be very peaceful or pure. In our Krishna conscious society, we have restricted illicit sex. The practical difficulty is to find a husband for each and every girl. We are therefore in favor of polygamy, provided, of course, that the husband is able to maintain more than one wife. So, maintaining more than one wife, you can't, have a gymnasium with bunk beds and marry, 100 wives, and they all sleep in bunk beds in a gymnasium. Krishna had 16,000 wives, over 16,000 wives, but he built a separate palace for each wife. However, Bhaumasura, Narakasura, he had stolen thousands of women, but he's all keeping them like in a prison. So that's not permitted. If you have the money and wherewithal to take care of more than one wife, it was permitted in the past. Now, when devotees wanted to have more than one wife in America, there was a time when they were petitioning Prabhupada, can we marry more than one wife? You say it in your books. Prabhupada said no. He said, Krishna consciousness movement is for limiting sex life, not for expanding it. So then, who is this polygamy permitted for? It's for people who are part of the Varnashrama system, who are not ready to go to the highest level of Krishna consciousness right away. They have to come slowly. So for them, under strict rules and regulations, they can have more than one wife. Polygamy is recommended for several reasons. One, so that every woman is married to a husband who's going to protect her. Because when women are not protected by responsible husbands, they become targets for uncouth men, and they're taken advantage of. Hearing this supposed curse by Lord Chaitanya, the girls, considering that he might know something uncommon or be empowered by demigods, were afraid that his curse might be effective. The girls then brought the offerings before the Lord, who ate them all and blessed the girls to their satisfaction. When this cunning behavior of the Lord with the girls became known to the people in general, it did not create misunderstandings among them. Rather, they enjoyed happiness in these dealings. So here's the difference between people who are envious, hateful, and materially attached. They would get angry. They would accuse the Lord of abusing these young girls. But when they're pure-hearted, they saw that these dealings between the Lord and the gopis were pure. There's no malicious intent, and they became happy because their girls were being educated and blessed by the Lord to get good husbands and have a simple but happy future. One day, a girl of the name Lakshmi, the daughter of Vallabhacharya, came to the bank of the Ganges to take a bath in the river and worship the demigods. Now, it's very interesting. It's just the same Vallabhacharya that's founder of the Pushti Marg Vaishnava tradition. We'll have to figure this out. According to the Gora Ganodesha Deepika, Lakshmi was formerly Janaki, the wife of Lord Ramachandra, and Rukmini, the wife of Lord Krishna in Dwarka. The same goddess of fortune descended as Lakshmi to become the wife of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, this Gora Ganodesha Deepika explains the who's who of Vedic tradition, especially in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Seeing Lakshmi Devi, the Lord became attached to her, and Lakshmi, upon seeing the Lord, felt great satisfaction within her mind. Their natural love for each other awakened, and although it was covered by childhood emotions, it became apparent that they were mutually attracted. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lakshmi Devi are eternal husband and wife. Therefore, it was quite natural for their dormant love to awaken when they saw each other. Their natural feelings were immediately awakened by their meeting. They both enjoyed natural pleasure in seeing each other, and under the pretext of demigod worship, they manifested their feelings. The Lord told Lakshmi, "Just worship me, for I am the Supreme Lord. If you worship me, certainly you will get the benediction you desire." This is the same philosophy declared by Lord Krishna himself. Yes, in other words, just surrender unto me, ananya chintayantamam, ye jana paryapasate, tesam nitya bhayuktanam, yogasamam vaham yaham. So Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 22nd verse, is it? Yes. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, this is, again, exclusive devotion. Let's see, where is that? Sanskrit. Well, we just read in another place, Ananya Bhak, without deviation. And here, yeah, where it says, Ananyas. Ananyas or Ananya means having no other object. So Ananya Bhak, Ananya is the same word, with undeviated devotion, and Ananyas Chintayantam, concentrating completely on Krishna with no other object in mind. Okay. This is the same philosophy declared by Lord Krishna himself. Sarva dharmam prityaja mamekam saranam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksisyami mahasucha. So when he says, Mam ekam saranam braja, you worship only me. He doesn't say, Sarva deva saranam braja, meaning worship all the devatas. He says, worship only me, Mam ekam. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So that's 18th chapter, 66th verse. But I want to see if there's a difference a little slight difference in the translation. The meaning is the same. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Yeah, it's the same translation. People do not understand this. They are accustomed to flattering or worshiping many demigods, human beings, or even cats and dogs. But when requested to worship the Supreme Lord, they refuse. This is called illusion. Factually, if one worships the Supreme Lord, there's no need to worship anyone else. For example, in a village of a limited area, one may use different wells for different purposes. But when one goes to a river where there is water constantly flowing in waves, the water can serve all purposes. When there is a river, one can take drinking water, wash his clothes, bathe, and so on, for that water will serve all purposes. Similarly, if one worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, all his goals will be achieved. Kamaistaistaritita jnana, prapadyante nyadevata. Only men who have lost their intelligence worship the various demigods to fulfill their desires. Bhagavad Gita 7:20. So this is a lesson that we should all learn. That how worshiping Lord Chaitanya, performing Sankirtan Yagya, and distributing Mahaprasadam will bring about all opulence, happiness, and good children, and everything desirable to live happily in this world and go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Go.
Yashomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gokula Ranjana Kana Yashomati Nandana Brajabara Gokula Ranjana Gopi Paranadhana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadhana Madana Manohara Kaliya Dhamana Vidhana Kaliya Dhamana Amala Harinamam Yavilasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bora Purandara Navina Nagara Bora Bamsi Badana Suvasa Bamsi Badana Suvasa Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Nanda Godhana Rakhovala Nanda Godhana Rakhovala Govinda Madhava Navnita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navnita Taskara Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasarasika Kripa Moya Rasarasika Kripa Moya Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara 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 Bhakti Vinodasaya Bhakti Vinodasaya Yashomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yashomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Paranadhana Madana Manohara Kaliya Dhamana Vidhana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jayo Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Jayo जगन्नाथ जयो बलदेवा जयो सुभद्रा जयो सुदर्शन जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो भक्त प्रहलाद
जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय भक्त प्रहलाद
जय सीताराम जय सीताराम जय सीताराम जयो लक्ष्मण हनुमान
जय सीताराम जय सीताराम जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान
निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल
निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रवचाचार्य श्रोत्र सत श्रीमद ईशी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रवचाचार्य श्रोत्र सत श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की अंत कोटि वैष्णवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की श्री मायापुर धाम की श्री गंगा माई की श्री यमुना माई की श्री तुलसी देवी की श्रील भक्ति देवी की अनंत कोटि वैष्णवृंद की all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Harivilas